For over 50 years, the moon has been a graveyard of flags and footprints, a place we visit but never stay. We've been told that the Space Race 2.0 is about rockets and rovers, but as we enter 2026, the real battle has shifted to something far more primal, the fight for light. While NASA's Artemis program and China's Chang'e missions scrambled to build the first permanent outposts on the lunar South Pole, they've run into a terrifying invisible wall. It's not the vacuum, and it's not the radiation. It is the lunar night. A single night on the moon doesn't last 12 hours. It lasts 354 hours, 2 full weeks of absolute crushing darkness. And with that darkness comes a cold so intense it shatters metal. Temperatures plummet to minus 173 degrees Celsius, minus 280 Fahrenheit. And in the permanently shadowed craters where we hope to find water ice, it can drop to minus 246 degrees. In this environment, the gold standard of space exploration, solar power, becomes a death sentence. On Earth, we take for granted that the sun will rise tomorrow. On the moon, if your mission relies on solar panels, you are effectively turning off your life support for 14 days straight. Current battery technology simply isn't enough. To survive a lunar night, a base would need thousands of tons of lithium batteries, far more than any rocket could ever carry. We've seen the results of this struggle already. In early 2024, the American Odysseus lander and Japan's SLIM mission both fought a desperate battle against the setting sun. Once the shadows lengthened, their batteries drained, their electronics froze, and they became expensive piles of junk on the lunar surface. This is the survival crisis that no one likes to talk about. If humanity wants to do more than just plant another flag, we need a power source that doesn't care about the sun. We need a heartbeat that never stops, even in the dead of the lunar night. This realization has triggered a secret high-stakes scramble between the world's superpowers. China and Russia have officially stopped pretending that solar panels are the answer. They have moved on to a solution that is as controversial as it is powerful. They aren't just bringing batteries to the moon, they are bringing the atom. And as of 2026, the project known as ILRS has one goal: to ignite the first nuclear fire on the lunar surface, leaving NASA's solar-powered dreams in the dark. As we move into the year 2026, the blueprints for China's lunar dominance have shifted from theory to hardware. The project is codenamed Yushu, translated as the Jade Tree, a name that sounds poetic but hides a brutal engineering reality. While the world space agencies have experimented with small nuclear batteries called RTGs for decades, China's vision for the moon is something far more ambitious. They aren't looking for a trickle of power, they are building a full-scale, high-power fission reactor. This device, currently being finalized by the Chinese Academy of Sciences, is designed to generate 1 megawatt of electricity, enough to power a small city on Earth or a massive self-sustaining industrial complex on the moon. What makes the Yushu reactor revolutionary is its unmanned deployment capability. Traditionally, nuclear plants require teams of engineers and massive amounts of water for cooling. Neither exists on the moon. China's solution is a compact, folding reactor that uses a liquid lithium cooling system. This allows the reactor to be launched in a folded state inside a standard Long March rocket fairing. Once it touches down on the lunar surface, it deploys like a high-tech umbrella, using massive radiator panels to bleed off heat into the vacuum of space. It is a masterpiece of autonomous robotics designed to start itself up and run for at least 10 years without a single human ever touching it. The strategic advantage of this technology is so significant that it's hard to overstate. It's the reason why so many people are starting to pay closer attention to the shifting power dynamics in space. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the secret tech of the new space race, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It helps the channel bring you more investigations like this one, and you won't miss our upcoming episodes on the Martian underground. With the Yushu reactor at the center of the International Lunar Research Station, ILRS, China is solving the deployment dilemma. Because the reactor is so powerful, it doesn't need to be placed in the sun. It can be tucked away inside a deep lunar lava tube or at the bottom of a pitch-black crater where water ice is abundant. This gives China the freedom to build their base wherever the resources are, not just where the light is. But there's a secret layer to this reactor's design: its modularity. The 2026 prototypes show that these reactors are designed to be daisy-chained. By linking several Yushu units together, China isn't just building a base, they are building the first extraterrestrial power grid. This grid is intended to support massive oxygen factories that will bake the lunar soil, regolith, to extract life-giving air and water. This is the Jade Tree taking root, a nuclear-powered infrastructure that will grow until it covers the entire South Pole, providing the foundation for a permanent Chinese presence that will never have to fear the 14-day lunar night. In the world of geopolitics, there is an old saying: "He who controls the energy controls the people." On Earth, this means oil and gas. On the Moon, it means the nuclear grid. By mid-2026, the CNSA has made it clear that their reactors aren't just for their own survival. They are the backbone of a massive, interconnected power network. This isn't just about a single base, it's about the creation of the Lunar Power Grid. Using wireless energy transmission and long-range high-voltage cables designed for the vacuum, China is planning to link multiple landing sites across the South Pole. But why does this matter to the rest of the world? Because the South Pole is the new Middle East. It contains peaks of eternal light and craters of eternal darkness where billions of tons of water ice are hidden. This ice is more valuable than gold. It can be turned into drinking water, oxygen, and most importantly, liquid hydrogen rocket fuel. To extract it, you need a massive, constant supply of energy that only a nuclear reactor can provide. By laying the power cables first, China is effectively claiming the most resource-rich territory on the Moon. Any nation that arrives later, whether it's a private company or a smaller space agency, will have a choice: build their own incredibly expensive power source or pay China to plug in to the Yushu grid. This power-as-a-service model gives Beijing unprecedented leverage. But the control goes even deeper. The 2026 ILRS strategy documents suggest that this nuclear energy will also power the Lunar Navigation and Communication constellation. While GPS works on Earth, the Moon is a dead zone. China is currently deploying a series of satellites and ground-based beacons that require high power signals to penetrate the deep lunar craters. If China owns the power, they own the network. If they own the network, they control every move made by any rover or astronaut in the region. There is also a darker, more strategic side to this energy monopoly. Modern space surveillance technology, the kind used to track enemy satellites or monitor lunar traffic, is energy-intensive. By having a megawatt-class reactor on the surface, China can operate advanced radar and LiDAR arrays that can see everything happening in the space between the Earth and the Moon, cislunar space. The Yushu reactor isn't just a battery for a heater, it's the engine for a permanent orbital and surface surveillance state. While NASA is still debating the ethics of nuclear power, China is already using it to build the high ground of the 21st century. As we stand in early 2026, the silence of the lunar surface is being drowned out by the growing noise in Washington, D.C. For years, NASA's Artemis program was the only serious plan for a return to the Moon. The realization that the International Lunar Research Station, ILRS, will have a continuous megawatt-class power source while Artemis is still struggling with solar panels has sent shockwaves through the U.S. government. In February 2026, NASA and the Department of Energy officially signed a renewed commitment to the fission surface power project. Their new goal is desperate and clear: to get an American nuclear reactor on the Moon by 2030 or risk being permanently eclipsed. But the American response is facing a wall of bureaucratic and financial fire. In the 2026 budget, despite a focus on space superiority, NASA has had to make brutal cuts to other scientific programs just to keep the lunar nuclear project alive. While China is moving with a unified, state-funded plan, the U.S. is relying on a mix of private companies like Blue Origin and Lockheed Martin. The result? A chaotic race against an atomic clock. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman recently stated that without nuclear power, America will be nothing more than a tourist on the Moon, while China becomes its landlord. The conflict has now moved to the halls of the United Nations. In early 2026, intense debates erupted over the 1967 Outer Space Treaty. The US and its partners are pushing for safety zones around their lunar sites, effectively trying to ring-fence territory under the guise of nuclear safety. China and Russia have countered, arguing that the US is trying to privatize the moon. The reality is that the law cannot keep up with the technology. There are currently no rules of the road for nuclear reactors in space. Whoever lands their reactor first won't just be generating electricity, they will be establishing the de facto laws of the lunar surface. We are witnessing the end of the era of exploration and the beginning of the era of infrastructure. The winner of this nuclear race will be the one who controls the first lunar economy. They will decide who gets to breathe, who gets to move, and who gets to explore the deeper reaches of our solar system. The heavenly palace in Earth's orbit was just the beginning. The real palace is being built on the moon, and it runs on the power of the atom. As the first lunar reactor prepares for launch, one thing is certain: the moon will never be dark again. The only question left is, whose flag will be flying over the switch that turns on the lights?